Michael Bennett's claim of racial profiling is starting to look a little different than he claimed. We talk about that and every NFL game from Week 4 right now on the Play Reaction. Hey everyone, happy October and welcome back. This week was another fun one in the NFL and I can't wait to cover it all. Real quick, I want to remind you to subscribe so you can know when our videos drop, and you should follow us on social media. That way you can get updates and join in on the conversation. Now, on to the NFL news that everyone's talking about. You might remember the story I covered about Seahawks defensive end Michael Bennett, where he released a statement saying that he was racially profiled by police in Las Vegas. I'll also post a link to the statement below if you want to see what he said in full. Basically, Bennett said that he was minding his own business after the Mayweather-McGregor fight in Las Vegas when he heard gunshots and saw people running away. He said that he started running too, but was singled out by police because he's black. He also said they used unnecessary force. However, last week the LVMPD released security camera footage as well as body cam footage from one of the officers and claimed that this footage shows that the officers in question handled the situation appropriately. As you can see from the video here, the policeman saw Bennett crouching around the background and then take off running, which they dubbed to be suspicious. They naturally chased after him, thinking he may be a suspect. You can also hear one asking the other if he had a gun.
What is the word? Do you have a gun? Over there.
The footage also shows the police officers dealing with Bennett as they take him to the back of the cop car.
Turn your head.
Bennett is clearly freaked and asking them what he did. The policeman explained to him how his actions looked suspicious.
Alright, so you hear what he said? Yeah, I'm not mad at y'all. He said, if we hear somebody shooting in there, everyone's down, you're running. I'm trying to get out, my kid. Yeah, stop talking. I understand, but you understand how that looks, though. Yeah. Okay, you're not in under arrest. We're going to get you out of here, okay? But we just have to make sure, because right now, all we know is people are shooting in there is what we're hearing, and then you're running away. So we're making sure that's not you. Now, come out. And if it's not you, we don't have time to be out here talking to you. Do you have an ID on you? No, man. My name is Michael Bennett. Okay.
Now, this contradicts what Bennett described in his statement, saying that the officers kept him waiting a long time in the police car until they realized he wasn't a thug and let him go, without ever explaining why they detained him. This is not a good look for Michael Bennett. It's now looking like he's channeling Regina George and is manipulating a situation to get attention. The one thing that this footage does not show is the part where Bennett was taken down. He said they used unnecessary force on him, but since the officer who brought him down was not wearing his body cam or it wasn't turned on, that part of the story is still left up to he said, he said. So what do you think? I'll post the whole video below so you can judge for yourself. Do you agree with the LVMPD that this proves Bennett was exaggerating? Let me know in the comments. And now for the time in the show where I go over every result from every game this week. It's a segment I like to call the Rapid Reaction. We'll start out with the Thursday night game where the Green Bay Packers handled the Chicago Bears pretty easily. This was the expected result, but the main thing people are talking about with this game is how bad Bears quarterback Mike Glennon looked. The Bears drafted Mitch Trubisky in the first round of the draft this year, and after that game, people were wondering if it's time to finally bench Glennon and see what the rookies got. Well, they no longer have to wonder, as it was announced this week that the Bears will be starting Trubisky for their game this week against the Vikings on Monday Night Football. Yep, Mitch Trubisky's debut will be on a national game against one of the nation's top defenses. Good luck, Rook. Moving on to Sunday's games, we go to London where the New Orleans Saints shut out the Miami Dolphins. The story here is once again about the losers, where the Dolphins have now looked dreadful against a bad defense for the second week in a row. Jay Cutler was brought out of retirement to help Miami while their starter Ryan Tannehill recovers from his knee injury, but it looks like that's not paying off so much. We have our first upset of the day as the Buffalo Bills go into Atlanta and beat the Falcons. I mentioned in the last video how the Bills aren't supposed to be good, but here they are at 3-1 and they lead the AFC East. That's right, they're ahead of the Patriots in the standings. The Bills, guys. The Bills. How did that happen? Well, the Patriots lost to the Carolina Panthers. Similar to last week when they fell behind the Texans and needed a comeback, the Panthers jumped ahead by a couple of scores. New England came back once again and tied the game at 30, but the Panthers got into field goal range and won the game in the final seconds. The Patriots are now 2-2 and behind the Bills, while the Panthers are 3-1 and tied for first in the division with Atlanta, who just lost to the Bills. I don't understand football. Here's one that makes sense. The Pittsburgh Steelers defeated the Baltimore Ravens. Remember last week when the Ravens couldn't score against the Jaguars in London? Yeah, it was just more of that. It was ugly. Pittsburgh looks like they've recovered from their surprising loss to the Bears last week, and the Ravens look like one of the worst teams in the NFL. Speaking of the worst teams in football, the Bengals demolished the Browns in the Battle of Ohio teams. It was all Cincinnati, and it was never close. Cleveland is winless and looking at yet another top 5 pick in next year's draft. Poor Drew Carey. Let's go back to the upsets, shall we? The Los Angeles Rams beat the Dallas Cowboys in Dallas. LA, who looked inept on offense last year, looked to have a legitimate team with QB Jared Goff in his second year and running back Todd Gurley actually looking good. The difference? Head coach Sean McVay, who is a former offensive coordinator, has come in and somehow made it all click. By the way, Sean McVay is the youngest head coach ever in the NFL. He's 31. Wait, I'm 31. I've made some poor choices. The surprising offenses continue as the Houston Texans put up 57 points against the Tennessee Titans. It's pretty unbelievable considering how their quarterback is a rookie and they're not exactly known as an offensive juggernaut. Remember though, they almost beat the Patriots last week. If Deshaun Watson keeps this up, he could become Rookie of the Year. On the Titans side, their quarterback, Marcus Mariota, got taken out of the game with a hamstring injury, and so far they've said he's day-to-day, but hamstring injuries tend to hamper a player all year. We'll see if he loses a step. The Detroit Lions shook off their tough loss last week and beat the Minnesota Vikings in a low-scoring game. Oh, would you look at that? Case Keenum isn't a football god. You hear that, Bucks? Anyway, the big news from this game is that Dalvin Cook, the Vikings stud rookie running back, had to leave the game with a knee injury. Early reports are that it's a torn ACL, which is devastating for Minnesota as that would take him out for the whole year. The New York Jets beat the Jacksonville Jaguars and are now 2-2, and like the Bills, have a much better record at this point than anyone predicted. Meanwhile, I cannot figure out the Jaguars. Both of their wins have been blowouts, but they have looked absolutely dreadful in both of their losses. I guess that means this time next week I'll be talking about how the Jags dismantled the Steelers. Probably not. Then there was the offensive explosion that was the 49ers-Cardinals game. In case you couldn't tell, that was sarcasm. It was a battle of the kickers because neither team could get into the end zone until the Cardinals scored the game winner in the final minute of overtime. Neither of these teams are very good, guys. What's worse is they have to play each other again this year. The LA Chargers almost got their first win, but couldn't get past the Philadelphia Eagles. There were plenty of big plays though, so it was a pretty fun game. While the Chargers remain winless, the Eagles are now 3-1 and sit atop a very crowded and competitive NFC East. And now for the greatest, most awesome, amazing game of the week, the Tampa Bay Pirate Guys defeated the New York Big Guys. This one came down to the wire and was actually a very exciting game. The big takeaways from this game are the fact that the Giants are now 0-4, which statistically means their playoff hopes are slim to none. And the Bucs' kicking woes are far from over. Tampa Bay's kicker Nick Folk missed 2 field goals and an extra point before barely making a short game winner. Remember, this is the guy who beat out the kicker they drafted in the second round in 2016. I'm scared. The Denver Broncos beat the Oakland Raiders in a low-scoring game, but the thing people are talking about with this one is A.J. Darby's ridiculous touchdown catch. I mean, look at that. Also, Raiders quarterback Derek Carr hurt his back and was taken out in the third quarter. It turns out he has a fracture in his back and will be out 2 to 4 weeks. Tough luck for a team that should be playoff contenders. And the day wrapped up with the Seattle Seahawks beating the Indianapolis Colts. The final score indicates a blowout, but the Colts hung in there until the second half when a light seemed to turn on in the Seattle offense. The biggest thing people are talking about when it comes to the Colts every week is whether their star quarterback Andrew Luck will be returning soon from his injury. So far, there's still no timetable. And here's the part of the show where I throw in Monday Night Football's result because I record before then. Thanks for watching, guys, and remember to like and subscribe. See ya.